Welcome back to the second half of Community Tapestry, and by chance, if you're just joining us for this second half, my name is Napoleon Bell, and I'm the Executive Director with the City of Columbus Community Relations Commission, and co-host, Ms. Toni Teague.
It's nice to be back, thank you.
As always, you better not have left between segments here. That would have been a problem.
I'm out of here, I'm
out.
out.
Right, I tell you what.
You didn't bring snacks, I'm out.
I'd have to drive you out. Speaking of driven.
Right. We don't want to be driven out. I know, right? That was good.
That was a great segue.
We don't want to be driven out. We want to be driven in.
We want to be driven. And we have got the man, the myth, the legend from the Driven Foundation. Mr. Roy Hall. He's a president and CEO of the Driven Foundation. I'd like to welcome you to the program.
Thank you for having me. Fantastic show. Love it.
Well, that's good to hear because you know what? This isn't your first time being on the show either. We picked you up way back when you were just a little nothing.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say a little nothing,
right?
but just beginning. You're just beginning. I'll say it that way, which was always good that you believed in me early on, and here we are 4 or 5 years later, and growing and increasing daily. So this will be fun. Man,
that's a great thing. Well, when I first met you, we had you on the show, but also you were doing a great thing out in the community with a huge food giveaway. Mm-hmm.
Since that time, we've had 5 more food outreaches. It's actually an annual event now, the Driven Holiday Food Outreach. And every year we give away 100,000 pounds of free food. So we're up around the 500,000 pounds of food mark that we've distributed for free to Columbus families since 2008. I'm really, really excited. I mean, I'm talking 3,500 lives have been impacted over and over and over again. So it's a great outreach for us, and we love doing it every December.
That is truly amazing.
Tremendous.
And I tell you what, if you've never been to it, and we got to find out when that happens. But if you've never been to that with our viewing eyes, it is truly amazing. I mean, there's lines, but I tell you what, you have volunteers making it happen, getting people through the lines, and everybody gets a same amount. Oh, it is really incredible.
That's what it's about. People will get mad at you, even if you're giving away stuff for free. If it's not done with excellence and efficiency, they will completely get out of control. They will get mad, like, I can't believe you guys are holding up this line. I mean, so you want to make sure that it's excellent so that they have a good experience, so that the next year, the following years, they can tell people about what a good job that you did.
Now, normally, what time of the year do you do that?
Always in December. It's usually the second or third week in December. I think the event this year may be on December 16th, but don't quote me on that. But it's that second or third week of December, and we'll be at Moeller Elementary School. And we give it out there, and everybody that's in line gets a 50-pound box of food. I mean, last year, you're talking chicken breast, chicken thighs, cereal, and I'm talking about like a Captain Crunch, like an actual character, not just a bag of,
right.
Canned goods, rice, flour, fruits, vegetables, bread, pasta sauce, peanut butter and jelly, you name it, we had it in that box.
Right.
And we had about 12 former football players from Ohio State that served as the volunteers to carry the boxes out to the elderly's cars and that type of thing. So it's a great event.
Well, it sounds like healthy food. I mean, it's sometimes you hear about some of these giveaways and they're giving away not the best foods for our community, but these are stuff that the people can really survive on and really
And the other thing I think about when I think about food drives and food giveaways, so often you have to go with certain paperwork, and you're like, if you show up, regardless of if you can prove the need or not, if you show up, then and you cared enough to be here, we're going to give you a box of food.
Here's the thing, Toni. If you stand in line for 4 hours, we usually start at noon, and there are people standing in line at 7 a.m. And it's in the wintertime. So this is not summertime or springtime breeze in Columbus. This is 20 degrees, 15 degrees, snowstorm. People are waiting, so much so that we move the line inside. But if you can wait at 7 in the morning for 5 hours for a box of food, that's enough to let me know that you're really in need.
Wow.
Right. Now this is just one of the things that Driven Foundation is doing and being successful at.
Yes, sir.
You not only helping with those who have that need, but also those who are in school or going into school. You do a piece called Back to School Blast. Tell us about that.
Actually, my church, Columbus Christian Center Church, we do a yearly event called the Back to School Blast. And I happen to be the lead on that event as of the last 2 years now. It's to be determined if I'm going to lead it this year. However, even if I'm not the lead, I'm still going to help as much as I can. But absolutely. So I pretty much shut down what I'm doing with the Driven Foundation specifically and push all of our resources and volunteer efforts and community partnerships with the church to make sure that we get these supplies. Last year, we handed out over 1,300 book bags full of supplies. I mean, binders, notebooks, pencils, pens, crayons, rulers. We had it all stuffed in there, and every kid got a book bag. But it's not just that, it's a community event. I mean, we had about 6 bounce houses, rock climbing, free food out there. So face painting, Kona ice was out there giving away. I had about 16 of them, so I gained a couple pounds on those ices. But I saw you eating or drinking one too. So.
Well, maybe 1 or 2.
But it's awesome. I mean, what more can you ask for than to be in position to help bless others and give back to others and do it on a consistent basis? So in the fall, I'm looking forward to that event as well.
Is this part of, I think the viewing audience is probably curious about who Roy Hall is. Tell us fundamentally, what you value and how did that get instilled?
Well, I mean, I guess first and foremost, I mean, you don't want to sound cliche, but I believe Jesus is Lord. And to get that revelation, to understand what that means to me as a former Ohio State Buckeye and NFL football player, that my identity is not so much in what I did, it's who I serve. So trying to be that example consistently. We go through a lot of ups and downs in life. We make bad decisions, poor choices. But ultimately, if Christ is your foundation, you will get it right, and he'll get it right for you. So trying to live through that is now what the Driven Foundation allows me to do. Whether it's public speaking or giving back or serving or playing dodgeball and having 7th grade girls throw balls at my head, and I thought the boys were going to be the worst. It doesn't really matter, but now it's how can I help these young people, or even families, inspire families, encourage families to help them achieve what they've always wanted, to let them know that it's okay that they made a mistake and we can bounce back from that and keep moving forward.
Well, I think that's really a testament to show that, who's guiding you, but it's also a commitment. Because, some things, it's a flash in the pans. You might do it 1 or 2 years, but you're continuing to make this push and continue to make it happen year after year. Regardless, and then bringing people on board, which is even, more incredible, because I know if this is the basis of the Driven Foundation, then those that are right along with you are feel the same way, feel that same commitment, and knows who's guiding this foundation. So that that's something that's really a plus in your corner. I'm glad that you're doing it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Definitely.
That's what it's about. We're better together. And it's always been that way. My athletic background, you can't do anything. If you're a receiver, you can't do anything without the quarterback. He can't do anything without the offensive line. The offensive line can't do anything without the offensive line coach and the head coach. Everybody has a role to play, and some people are out in the forefront and happen to be the people that get all the media attention or what have you. But the people behind the scenes, the film guy, the water boys, the trainers, the grounds crew, all the people that you don't think about have just as much to do with the success as the stars, so to speak. So we try to integrate everybody and get everybody involved. Tons and tons of volunteer work. And we don't necessarily make it about the Driven Foundation all the time. We have a ton of initiatives and fundraising opportunities where we help other organizations raise money for their missions and goals as well. So that's what it's about. All
right. Well, you've got one other piece here. Imagine me a gentleman of excellence.
The Image program.
Image.
My goodness. It's a powerful program. It's a 10 to 12 week, depending on the schooling schedule, mentorship program, character building initiative for young men. We usually have sessions of about an hour of length, but it's teaching them how to deal with friends and relationships, giving them an uncommon character, building an uncommon character in a common world, per se. The book that we use, our text, is Boys Won't Be Boys by an author named Tim Brown. He's a local gentleman from Columbus, in charge of FCA sports camps. But he has a fantastic book. It's about 100 pages, but for 7th graders, or from 5th graders all the way up to seniors in high school, they don't really like reading that much anyway. Right. So a 90-page book isn't that difficult for them to read. And I go through the book with them. We have workbooks and texts, and we integrate some fitness activities as well. But it's a 10-week, 12-week program that develops relationships with young boys, young kids, whether fatherless or father in the home. But it just allows me, as a former football player, again, to use and leverage that platform to help these young boys accomplish what I believe that they can and kind of exhaust their full potential.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yes, sir.
Is that through with Columbus City Schools, or how would a school get involved with that?
Really, all they would have to do is contact the Driven Foundation, and we get them the paperwork and what we would request and how we go about doing it. With the school year winding down, we just had 2 more schools sign on board to have this 10-week program in place. I'm looking forward to that. But going into the 2014 fall part of the school year will be a great opportunity to set that up. I mean, we look to do it in as many schools as possible. Most of the people that are in charge and the leaders of the program are former athletes. So to get these guys in there, to see the people that they look up to is always conducive to some type of help, to building those kids up as best as we can.
That's amazing. And how do people contact you at the Driven Foundation?
Well, all you have to do is go to www.drivenfoundation.org and type in the contact information. Let us know exactly what it is that you would like to see Driven Foundation help with, and we'll be available.
You know, I think he's the face, the star of the, he's the quarterback. I'm seeing that.
I don't know if I'm a quarterback or a head coach or, whatever it takes. If I need to pass out the water, I can do that too.
Okay. So, well, speaking of passing out water and being all of those and the cheerleader even at that.
Yes, sir.
You guys do a birthday bash piece?
Well, our birthday bash piece is very near and dear to my heart. When I was at Ohio State, Coach Jim Tressel used to take us to the James Cancer Hospital, and we would visit cancer patients and this and that. And when I got to the NFL with the Colts, I would do the same thing, but we focused on the Children's Hospital. And obviously, we have a huge and fantastic Children's Hospital here over with Nationwide. And I wanted to do something that helped those young kids. I mean, we feed a lot of money into the hospital, and that's perfectly fine because they take care of our kids. But when those kids get out of the hospital, it's extremely difficult for kids to get reacclimated to being a kid again. So their birthdays have come and gone. Holidays have come and gone. Their immune systems were down for the longest. And now all of a sudden they're forced to, okay, now you have to be a kid again. And they get showered with, hey, everything will be okay. But still they don't get a chance to have a good time. They're bombarded with family members and such. So what we decided to do was every month we wanted to do a huge birthday bash for the kids whose birthday passed while they were undergoing treatment or in the hospital. So we provide the venue and toys and gifts, gift cards for their friends, family, for their classmates to come and just celebrate their victory over cancer or whatever it may be in a very, very fun environment. We've hosted at movie theaters before, Laser Craze, Skate Zone, Fort Rapids Water Park, Magic Mountain. I mean, we kind of bounce around depending on what the kids are capable of doing at the time. So it's a whole lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
That is some amazing work.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
it's like you never sleep.
Well, right, and it's got to be very fulfilling. I mean, this seems like this is your heart that is in this.
Well, here's the thing: when I played in the NFL, when I was at Ohio State, you talk about dreams coming true, and that entire time it was still about me though. I want to get to the NFL. This is what I want to do with my life. And then when you get to a point where you can't do it anymore, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? And then you start pulling away from what it was that made you successful as a team at Ohio State or in the NFL or what have you. And it's just that ability to do whatever it takes for other people. Whatever you have to do, just do your role. So now, having those two things, the Block O and the NFL Shield that I can leverage to help other people, it just makes sense for me. So all these different things that I do focus on families and kids. I once got some bad advice that said, you need to focus on one thing, whether it be cancer research or young African-American males. And I said, okay, great. I appreciate your advice. But I decided to do multiple things. I call it purposeful versatility. I mean, the people that stay in the NFL are the people that can do a lot of good things well. So that's what I set out to do now. So if somebody comes to me, Mr. Barrow, you can come to me and say, hey, Roy, can we do something with a mentorship program? Let's just say the image program wasn't at play. Can you do something in these elementary schools? I might not have curriculum, but between you and I and some of your resources or contacts, we could come up with a program that I can say yes to because I'm not in a hole, so to speak, where I only do certain things. So being able to adapt and evolve with the needs of people. I mean, the food outreach is doing well, but what if all of a sudden there's a coat epidemic and we need to raise coats or get coats or shoes or what have you? I have the ability to kind of manipulate the system to get it done. So it's a lot of fun. I have a good time doing it, and it's not about me, which is why I can wake up and be encouraged and enthusiastic all day because it's not about me. And when it's about you, a lot of times you quit, but when it's about somebody else, you'll figure out a way to do it.
Well, about you, I see a lot of energy. I see, the focus. And I know that Jesus is your guiding light and through the Driven Foundation. But before even that, what makes you you? Is it your parents? What what is this drive that you have, and where does that come from?
Yeah, and I'm thinking that along the same lines, I'm thinking there are other parents who are going, how do I raise a child that might model some of your behaviors?
Well, I don't have the magic formula. I had a praying mother. See, my father was a heroin addict. So I didn't grow up with dad. Dad was abusive. Dad used to beat on me. Dad used to beat on my mom. I'm the first witness. If they had to call somebody to the stand, what happened, I would be the person that gets called. My motivation was always to take care of mom. You know, I couldn't do it as a young kid, as a young boy, multiple times. To not be able to save your mom is difficult. I couldn't do it then. So in my mind, I had to do everything I possibly could when I got older to take care of her. So academically, graduated 4.0. I mean, I'm straight A's all the way through and through. Not because I was smart, but because I knew road A said I can go to college. That's what mom said if I had good grades. Road B is athletics. So either way, I'm good. So if I don't get an athletic scholarship, I'm getting an academic scholarship, all to put me in position to take care of mom. But I saw what she was able to sacrifice. So many times parents want to know how they have to, or what they have to do to raise their children, and they just have to be available. They have to become inconvenienced, because it's easy to be a parent when it's convenient. Anybody can watch somebody for 2 hours when they just have 2 hours of free time. But being a parent is about being inconvenienced. I mean, I don't feel like going to practice. I don't feel like picking you up. I don't feel like helping you with your homework. I don't feel like having a conversation with you about your friends or your girlfriend or boyfriend or what have you. And those conversations and moments missed are those times where kids reach out to other things to fulfill those voids. So my mom was always there. She was always available. She made herself available. She didn't know anything about sports, but by the time it was all said and done, she was the biggest cheerleader in the crowd, yelling at the refs or what have you, to make sure that she knew that I was supported by her. So that's how you do it. I mean, you got to make it about your kids. You have to make it about their success, and be purposeful about what you do. Don't be afraid to fail, you know, and be able to, so many parents worry about being your kids' friends. Like, who cares about being your friend? Like, just be there for them and be consistent. Their friends come and go. So if they loop you in the category with their friends, that's not saying too much about you. So,
well,
Wow.
you know, I'm a little worn out now.
hey, man, I can go, man.
That was well, you know, and it sounds like you can go, and I understand that you're going to be. It'll probably this will probably air after but you're keynoting at
Yes,
one
sir.
of the gatherings.
Yes, sir.
So you know,
It's a great opportunity. Definitely a blessing. Definitely a blessing.
It is. Well, I'm sure we just heard just a
just a
minute
fraction.
of it.
Just a fraction.
of
Just
it.
a fraction. I mean, you told me I only had about 10 minutes, so I tried to get it all out. You know, the last time I was on here was like 4 years ago. So,
Right,
you know,
right.
this is 4-year intervals.
So much in.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to make sure it's not every 4 years. We'll have to make sure it's at least yearly. Something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
keep it
Could
going.
be your bodyguard or something, anything. Just
Right.
put me in the background.
No,
somewhere.
likewise. No, let me be your bodyguard. I'm not that old. I can still do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're
Right.
intimidating, man.
Right. So let me ask you this, Driven Foundation, you've done so much. What's it looking like in the future?
You know what? The sky's the limit, really. And just going to continue to be obedient, continue to build relationships and partnerships around the state. You know, as I mentioned earlier, one of our initiatives is to help other organizations, smaller or same size or even larger, push their goals and missions. One thing that partnerships does is, by default, it allows you to do what they do. You know, we had a partnership this past year with West Liberty in West Liberty, Salem, and really it was the Suicide Prevention Coalition of Logan and Champaign County. But we helped raise about $6,500 for their cause through a charity basketball game. But if I get a phone call, Mr. Bell, and they say, hey, my son is contemplating suicide, or my son is depressed, or what do you do? Or I have nothing for it. My autograph only goes so far. But now I can pick up the phone and call these people and say, hey, I have someone that could possibly utilize your ability and your resources there. Can you help this family out? So we're traveling around the state, exposing Driven through other organizations, so not reinventing the wheel and not all the way making it about us. I mean, what better way to show that you care about somebody than to write them a check for $5,000 or $10,000? They'll know you care and know that you support what they're trying to do. Right. It's one thing to show up and volunteer for an hour, but it's another thing to donate or give some of your resources. So we're trying to build through that, being diverse in that facet. Sooner or later, whether it's 5 years, 3 years, or 2 years, or 6 months, I'd love to have a Driven Foundation campus here in Columbus where it's all inclusive. I mean, whether it's a weight room, a library, computer lab, tutor labs, basketball, football, indoor, outdoor football field. It could be double as soccer field, a track, or whether city schools that don't have the great facilities could come to and use that, chapel, a banquet hall. I'm just going to throw, just all inclusive,
Right.
just everything right on campus.
City.
Absolutely. Just to where people could come and utilize our resources. You know, you're talking about employing 100, 150 people. I mean, you want to include the entire community in it. So that's what I would love to do. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but it will happen. Next time I'm on this show, hopefully it'll be done by then. But I mean, now don't call me next week and say,
man, you got that done yet?
Yeah, right. So, but whenever it happens, I can't wait to share that. And that's how it'll be. That's what's going to happen. So.
Well, you know, I think that you're definitely on the path to making that happen. There's no doubt.
Driven.
And you know, there could be some areas around the city I know that are opening up that would allow that to happen.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
you know, and especially by being on the show, you know, 1 million or 2 million people see the show.
Yes, sir.
So I'm
There
sure
you
there's
go.
somebody out there that wants to make sure that they give and make sure that they even provide a location
Right.
for what you're talking about, because it's worthwhile. You're not going anywhere. You've been doing this for a long time, and you've got your dreams and the Almighty behind you making sure this happens.
And then I just turned 30, so I got some.
Ooh, you're getting old.
No. I'm still young, man. That means I got a nice little window, you know, full of energy before I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to get some young guys to get in here and do this. But
Right.
you know, I'm still
still
on
a young
fire.
guy.
Still able to get some things done. And
I don't know. I guess I can say from a person that's slightly older than you. I think once you have the drive, you just have it. I don't think it's
Regardless
not,
of age,
Yeah.
yes, it's going to continue to go.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's great wisdom.
Well, let me ask you this though: if people want to get involved, you know, people want to, you know, to volunteer, to jump on board with Driven Foundation, how do they go about doing that?
Again, still, they can go to the website, drivenfoundation.org, fill out the contact information. If you want to make a donation, there's a big donate button that's right there.
How big is it?
It's this big, it's at least this big. So it's there. And, you know, you just write in however you want to help. Send us an email. I mean, all that information is online. I encourage people to go. We update it pretty much daily on what we have going on. And no event is too big or too small for you to help. We're definitely trying to forge relationships with different people from around the state. That's one thing that I believe that facility will do when we get to that point is it'll be in the middle of the city. So the inner city kids won't feel like it's too nice for them to go to, and the people from Powell or Dublin won't feel like it's too much in the inner city. I mean, it's a place where we could come together, you know, and that's what sports does anyway.
Right,
I mean, just
right.
breaks down all barriers and walls. So I'm looking forward to that. But if you want to help, man, if you guys want to help, you know, or how can I help you guys? I just saw what happened to you guys in the last month or two. You told me to go watch a YouTube video. Congratulations on your engagement. That is fantastic, man. That is so
Well, thank
awesome.
you. Thank
That is so awesome. But
You know,
Yeah.
we're trying to make things happen.
yeah, you
know,
got to do it,
keep
man.
it going forward.
My goodness.
Well, so with the Driven Foundation, you talk about it's Ohio.
Yes, sir.
So are you looking to expand outside of Ohio?
Well, we are in the heart of the United States right now.
You're right.
And being in Columbus, everything comes through here. The presidents come, all the nominees, and everybody comes through
Right.
Columbus, Ohio. So if you could start making an impact here, and then it downgrades or funnels down to the rest of the state, and then this state starts to make noise, and it can shift this entire nation. And this nation runs the world. So you can literally impact the world one life at a time right here in Columbus. So I am home here. That's where base is. That's where the resources is. And obviously being a former Buckeye helps. Now, am I opposed to going to different places and, you know, speaking or doing an event? No, but base will always be Columbus.
Call Columbus home.
Yeah.
I am Columbus.
I am Columbus.
Yes, you are. Yeah, it's great. I can say there are very few times when I feel somewhat speechless, but I have to say, listening to you in this interview, I have felt just that. I just wanted to listen and hear more about fundamentally who you are, what you believe in, and your drive. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank
All right.
you. Thank
So who's, you know, you have a group of people who are partners in this.
you. Right.
Who are your partners with the Driven Foundation?
From an individual standpoint, Antonio Smith, who's another former Buckeye, he's our vice president. He also sits on the board for St. Stephen's, so he allows him to be able to have a good temperature and gauge on what's really going on in the community. I know St. Stephen's Community House is right in the center of things. And then Jocelyn Timko, who's our community relations director, kind of sets up the pen, so to speak, and I knock them down. I mean, she has background with working with the New England Patriots, San Diego Chargers, New Orleans Saints. She ran Reggie Bush's foundation, Junior Seau's foundation at one point in time. So you leverage those types of people around you who have a common goal, no self-agenda, not their own motives, that will allow us to go out and get some things done. There's no egos. So those two people kind of help the day-to-day. Antonio Smith is also a full-time mechanical engineer. So you talk about being driven. He's an engineer on one side and then still doing community outreach.
Right.
And then, being a husband, and he just got a dog or something, so he's a pet owner. So all that, takes away from time, so to speak. Absolutely. But those are the people that really get it going. We do have relationships, again, with different organizations. Laser Craze comes to mind for hosting some of our birthday parties. The Northwoods Foundation, which is out of Dublin, they help us daily. Superior Beverage Group, I'm not big on drinking at all, but they basically said, we are huge on community outreach and we want to help. And they donated a nice amount of money to our food outreach to pay for some things, additional items for the boxes of food for the family. So it doesn't necessarily matter what people do. We can just all come together, and I'm not making it about Roy Hall, like, hey, I want to do all the interviews. No, let's just go out and serve together. And if it helps us to get promotion and notoriety based on what I did in the past, so be it.
Wow.
Well, there you have it, people. We have Roy Hall, a very humble and wonderful man in our community. We're so lucky to have him.
So one last time before we go, we got about 45 seconds.
Okay.
Tell us anything that we didn't talk about or something that you want to make sure that you get out there to the community.
If you don't mind me looking at the camera, I mean, this is really simple. So much of our lives are based about what we want. And a lot of times we push and push and push for what we want. And then when we don't get it, we end up quitting. So this is an opportunity to link up with a foundation that gives and gives and gives. And we don't make it about ourselves. I've made mistakes. I've had mishaps and missteps and misfortunes, so to speak, but you keep on going when you make it about others. So the Driven Foundation is not about Roy Hall, it's not about Ohio State, it's not about NFL, it's about us coming together as a community to get some powerful things done by way of Ohio State and the NFL based on what our platform was as former players that we can do. So I just thank you again for your time and listening to this interview in totality, but I encourage you to go to drivenfoundation.org, see how you can tap in and give and link up and volunteer, and we can go from there.
All right.
Thank you.
Roy Hall. That was Roy Hall, Driven Foundation. Get involved. Thank you so much for being a part of Community Tapestry, and we'll see you soon. Take care.